Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another one of our preseason podcasts for Big Brother Hometowns 15. Today, yes, I will apologize in advance if my audio is weird. I am still at work, but today I'm excited to get to talk about our next player in one, Mr. Lee Ferrell. And I'm very excited to be joined by one of Lee's BBH 11 cast members. The four-person of the jury that season, it is Chandler. Hey, Chandler, how are you?
I'm good. How about you, Mitchell?
I'm wonderful. It's so exciting to have you back on a BBH stream to talk some BBH and to talk about Lee and his second chance here for season 15.
Well, I'm very excited to be here. Very excited to talk about Lee. There is a lot to say about Lee. There's a lot to say.
Oh, there is. I mean, like, just Lee, the person, is just, he's so wonderful. Mm-hmm. Lee, the game player, is the most complex, potentially one of the most complex characters of all time. One of the best villains in series history, but incredibly complex. So give me some overview takes just about Lee in general.
Well, first, actually, I think Anthony is sending me updates from a flag football game for his son. So Lee will probably try and vote him out.
Not this.
But no, seriously. In season 11, me and Lee had such a back and forth relationship in the game that I never really knew where I stood with him. And I feel like most people, other than the few that he made it very clear that he was against him, but I feel like most people kind of felt the same way. And that's, I think, what's going to hurt him is that the thing about Lee is he's got all of the skill sets to do incredible in one of these games. He's got the comp skills, he's got the social skills, and he's got the strategic mind. The problem with Lee is that Lee gets in his own way. Lee is going to find a way to derail his game because he wants to make some type of entertaining move, which is great at times. It's great to be willing to do that. But sometimes the boring move is what's going to get you further. And, I mean, we saw back in 11, not last season, back in 11, that I think it was the first HOH, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was.
And immediately already puts a target on his back by making up a lie about the first boot. The first HOH is the one where you just win it and put up the easy noms and put an alliance around you. And he already kind of ruined people's trust in him there.
I think what you said is so interesting about because one of the reasons I asked you to come talk about Lee is because you guys were in 2 or 3 alliances together, but you said I never was really sure where I stood with him, and I think that's such an interesting point with Lee because he's, even with the people that he trusts, I just always see him be so sneaky and so secretive, and that uncertainty about where he lied with everybody is ultimately, I think, why he, he goes out. He's pledging his undying loyalty to Blake and to Dan, and they're like, I'm not really sure. You, K-Pal, Justin, are all people that he's in an alliance with and saying, I want to work with you guys, and you guys are all like, I don't know.
Well, it's because Lee would come to me and he'd have these ideas and he'd try to include me in them, some of them, but they were just completely unnecessary lies. And I'm like, I know if he's saying this to me about lying to this person for no reason, he's very easily could be doing the same thing about lying to me. And so I think this season is going to be really interesting. I don't know who else is on this season, so I don't know what kind of connections he will have. But I think it'll be very interesting to see, even if he changed the way he played completely, and I have my doubts that he can do that, just because Lee's Lee. I love him, but he's Lee. Yeah. But even if he could change the way he played, I don't know if he's going to be able to escape that reputation. Everybody knows how he played.
I agree with you 100%. And unfortunately for Lee, I mean, he's gone on to play several other games and had such similar trajectories and such similar storylines that I think that's just something that he is telling us he feels is a strength. He doesn't think he's going to be like he thinks he's going to be underestimated, and he thinks people are going to be like, "Oh, Lee's just a chaotic mess. Like he's just like gonna flame out," and then that will be actually a strength for him. And I think that is such wishful thinking. And I'm don't get me wrong, I want to see Lee do well. I really would love that story if he does well.
I think if I would love to see a game that Lee wins, like in like
Yeah.
a Big Brother 15, a Big Brother Hometowns 15 that Lee wins would have to be one of the best seasons of all time. I kind of view it as
behind that is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it would take incredible gameplay just to escape the reputation that he has coming into it. I kind of think about it, I view Lee's winner chances the same as I did Tony Vlacho's going into the Winners of War. So it's possible, but
that is a great comparison.
I would have never guessed that Tony would have won.
Yeah.
I would have said he had probably, other than maybe Sandra, the worst chance on the entire cast to win.
And you don't even know the cast.
I don't. But, I know for me as a player, and I'm somebody that I really liked Lee in the game, but I mean, it got to the point where I was pushing for the backdoor of Lee. It was terrible for my game at the time. I didn't realize it, but it got to the point where I was pushing for it when he's telling me he's completely loyal to me, and that was before we even made it to jury. I have a hard time believing that he's going to find people that really believe what he's saying to them.
Yeah, to me, I really see that like he's gonna have to prove above and beyond that he can control himself. Mm-hmm. Like I mean, I've seen it in several different orgs that he's been involved with. He always has this foil, right? Like in your season of season 11, it was Ashley, and it was this person that just like he became so hyper focused on that it ultimately hurt his game in the end. And I think if he can show the people that he wants to work with, like, hey, I want to work with you, and I'm not going crazy, and I'm not like coming after this person for no reason. Like, I'm not being messy. I'm not being ridiculous. I think he's going to have to really prove that. And unfortunately, I wonder for him, is he so far down the track of this like messy reputation that it's impossible for him to come over? I don't know. We'll have to see. So
yeah, I have similar concerns, but I mean, I would love to see it, like we said. And Lee's great as a person. I love Lee, and as a player, I love Lee, but I'm just not.
Yeah, I love to watch Lee. Yeah. I don't know.
I'm playing with Lee.
I think another thing I could definitely see for him, you know, a strength he has is he's pretty involved in like the Big Brother Hometowns sphere. And I think like the good number of the people on this cast there's a good number of people who played BBH once and then were like, bye, deuces, like never talk to you again. And that's exciting in of itself. But there is a group of people who are pretty well connected and they know each other. And I think those people will know, like they know Lee, the true Lee. They also know Game Lee, but I'm wondering like which will win out. Like, will they win out like, this is Lee who I love to talk to and love to hang out with? Or is this the Lee that is gonna like cut my throat because it's a game and that's how he plays? So
and I think that just the way that most people that are involved in the org community think about these games, I'm afraid it's going to be the latter, and they're just going to view him as Lee, the game player, because they know that typically a friendship isn't going to be completely ruined over a game. Typically, it does happen, but typically it's not. And I think they know that Lee would have no problem cutting their throats, so they're not going to have any problem cutting his. And I don't mean to sound so down on Lee. I think that like he has potential to be a big player. I just am not super high on his winner chances. Kind of like 11, he was a big player.
Yeah,
he was a really big player in that season, but he didn't make it very far.
Yeah, I definitely am. Like Luke, as much as I love Lee, I'm lukewarm on him at best in terms of how I think he's gonna do here. I think for him, like he's been very. Hey, give me 1 second. We love a live recording. So like I'm very lukewarm on him, like in terms of his chances overall. I know how much this means to him, and so if anybody is going to be putting in the work to make this happen for them, it's Lee. Like I can tell you guys, like we're a month away from this game, and Lee's prod chat is constantly active, like constantly. So like, I know he's gonna work hard to make the connections he needs to do the things that he needs to do. And I do think he has potential to be a big player in this season.
Mm-hmm.
But is it going to be good? Is it going to be messy? Is it going to be, tragic to watch, like, because it's sad, like, because he's fighting so hard and he just can't get anywhere? I don't know yet. It's so impossible to see right now.
I think the first 2 or 3 rounds of this game are absolutely crucial to Lee's like long-term chances. I think if in those 2 or 3 rounds he shows that he's playing a controlled game, he stands a chance at winning people's trust. I still think it's an uphill battle, but he has a chance.
Do you think he does that by winning an HOH, or do you think he needs to like throw every competition?
I think if he plays it very controlled, it can help him. I just don't know that he would do that.
Listen, like, are we gonna get the Lee? Like, are we gonna get Lee who wins an HOH and is like, okay, it's time to backdoor Anthony while he's at flag football with his kid, or are we gonna get a Lee HOH where he lets people come to him and bring him information and he absorbs things and he just sits with it until he knows what's actually the best thing to do with it? I think that he has the ability to do that. Yeah. And I think on paper, Lee should be a good org player.
Mm-hmm.
On paper, he should be. It's like you said, if he, chooses not to blow up, then I think he actually could do it. And I'm very curious. Like, Lee is one of the people who has the most interesting second chance stories to me, because it feels like it's one that extends beyond like Big Brother Hometowns. Like, his second chance story for Big Brother Hometowns is what it is of itself. But like, this is like Lee's second chance at like the org community. Like, because he's just like the first like 4 games he's played have just been marked by this like over the top villainous like character who's messy and who lets people have it, and and is
incredibly fun to watch.
Yeah, at times it is, absolutely, at times it is. But I just feel like for him, I feel like he's viewing this as like his rebirth almost, of like, no, this is the time that I show like I can actually do it. Or this is the time that I like can prove myself, and I'm very fascinated by that.
Well, I hope that he is, because I didn't realize that was some of the stuff maybe he had been telling you on your prod chat. So I'm glad to hear that he's talking about it going into the game with a completely different mindset.
Oh, I will say, like, this means a lot to him. You can tell that this means a lot, and he's putting a lot of effort and energy into it.
Well, honestly, that makes me a little more hopeful, and maybe I'm wrong on this read, but I kind of got the read in 11 that he kind of came into it just wanting to be messy, be the villain of the season, and be entertaining.
Oh, very much so. He had no idea what he was getting himself into, because he had never played a long form game, and now I feel like he knows like the yes and the no, like the do and the don't of like the game. And when I think so desperately, out of anyone else on this cast, has the biggest chip on his shoulder by far in terms of like something to prove.
Yeah.
And I think that's personal. I think it's personal, but I also think it's more of like, he thinks people don't take him seriously because he's been messy, or he's been bombastic or brash, or whatever word you want to use. So
that's actually really encouraging, I think, to hear for his chances in this game. He's still going to have the constant battle of just his reputation in the way that he plays, but I'm glad to hear that he recognizes that and is trying to fix it, because like we both said, he has all of the skill set.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you put him into a game with that mindset that not a single person knows who he is, he stands a great chance of going far in that game.
Mhm.
It's just that if he can control himself, and unfortunately now, if he can change the narrative within the game about
Sometimes that's so hard to do.
Mhm.
It's so hard to change that narrative.
It is.
So let me ask you kind of like a wrap-up question. What do you think Lee's second chance story is going to be?
What I hope, I would love to see him grow as a player and learn to control like just some of those moves, and because again, I think he could be a fantastic player. So I'd love to see him do that and thrive, and really the players give him a chance to do that. I also understand if they don't, because it's a game. You're going based off what you know beforehand, and I think there's a chance that happens. I think the more likely scenario is he makes that effort to change the gameplay. The other players just don't buy it, and eventually he resorts back to that chaotic gameplay because, I mean, I get it. You get in the mindset of they're not changing their minds anyways. I might as well lean into it. And I could see him doing that and trying to use it to his advantage. And
or if he feels cornered,
Yep.
like if he feels cornered and feels like this is my last ditch effort, like is he going to approach it logically and with a good argument, or is he just gonna like freak out, like and you know, I don't know. So
because I mean, anytime for almost anybody in one of these games where you can tell the tides are turning against you, you go to what you're most comfortable with. Whether it's somebody in the game that you have known for a long time and that's just like who you trust most as a person, that's who you're going to go turn to, or if it's just your style of play. You're going to, and I think in general too, even if you're not an aggressive player, when your back is against the wall, you get more aggressive. You come out like trying to take big shots. And I could see that really happening if things don't go his way early on, which is why I say I think the first 2 rounds could really tell the story of Lee's whole game. If he gets some momentum, I could see him really thriving. If things are going against him, I could see it blowing up pretty quickly.
I think that's a great read. I will say, and I don't know if this is indicative of anything of how the game will go, but Lee has been sending us like who he thinks is playing, and he's like 90% right.
Oh, wow.
Like his reads preseason on like who will be there are really good. Even like some of the people that were like really excited about having back because we think they're kind of like a shock. He's like, it would be very interesting if this person ended up showing up. And I'm hoping he can keep that energy, like keep those good reads coming, keep it moving. And I think if he can get a good footing and he can get a group of people who actually have his back and he shows that they actually have his back, I'm excited to see what Lee could do. So
let me ask you a question, and if you can't answer this, it's fine. But of the people that he's listed, which I don't know who they are, I don't know who's on the cast, how does he feel about his chances if that's the group of people that plays? Has he said that?
He thinks that. So Lee is, in my opinion, I think he'll have one of the top 5 targets coming into the cast. Okay. Just because of what we talked about with reputation and whatnot. I think he also thinks that. And so his goal right now is what he's telling us is that he wants to get all of the people that are perceived as threats or targets together to protect each other. And he feels confident that the group of people that he has identified as threats will want to work with him. We'll see if that's the truth. I couldn't tell you either way right now. But he seems to be pretty optimistic on his chances, I will say. Okay. I will see. I really don't know. I truthfully have no read on the situation right now.
Okay. I mean, I'm just excited to watch it all play out. Like, and I'm excited too to find out who else is going to be playing with them, because I think it'll be a very fun season to watch.
It's going to be a journey. I'm nervous, but I'm also very excited.
Yeah, I think it sounds like it'll be a ton of fun as a spectator. And I mean, I'm obviously going to be pulling for Lee. So Lee, when you watch this, don't think I've just been like bad mouthing you. I'm pulling for you. But I'm really excited to watch how he plays. Like, again, I don't know who else is playing, but I think even if I did, Lee would very possibly still be like the top one that I'd be most excited to see, just because I'm so intrigued on if he changes the way he plays or not. It's such a storyline to me.
I think that will be the biggest thing for him. Like, what ways has his game evolved and changed, and if he can use that to segue into like a good footing and see how he can do. I would love to see him make the jury. He's yet to make one, so I would love to see him get that far. It's going to be tough to do, but I would love to see him get there.
I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think I do think he has a decent chance of making jury, because I do think that if he can get in with some of those other big threats, they will protect each other for a few rounds because they may need to do that. I don't know that they go long term with him.
I don't know. We'll have to see.
I would love to see Lee jury too, though. Like, I think that would be a fun. I think Lee as a juror would just be fun to watch.
Oh God. Well, Chandler, thank you so much for spending the last 20 minutes talking to me about our good friend Lee. For everybody else out there, we're a month away from the season, but let me pretend that I know what's going on. Join the Discord, get your fantasy picks in, buy some BBH merch, subscribe to the YouTube page, get in there, give us your preseason thoughts. And yeah, we're excited for the season. And until you see us on a stream proper, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to y'all later.